Hey everybody, welcome back for the last time this season, but not the last time this year. Hopefully, we'll be covering other stuff. But this is the Pact of Ice and Fire, and I'm joined as always by Ryan. Ryan, how you doing?
A little sad, Brian. A little sad, but overall good. Feeling satisfied with this season's end. Uh, in pretty good spirits, but I don't know what I'm going to do for the next couple of weeks until I guess Rings of Power. I try to fill the void, but
Yeah, we'll be back for that. We're gonna cover that on another show. But yeah, I feel you. I'm as empty as the halls of Harrenhal were before every River Lord showed up in it there this episode. In between, I'll be sure to do some soul searching similar to Damon to try to find my path in life. I imagine touching the werewolf for me would just be like, all right, you're gonna like podcast a lot. I don't. It's not really worth showing you this feature, honestly. Just gonna talk about a lot of television shows. It's really all you do. You're like, oh, awesome. What a life.
I'm just imagining like putting my hand. It's like shows like a bunch of chicken wings and like like an Xbox being turned on. Like
Oh
oh boy.
man. But yeah, so this season really, if season one was the backstory, this season was the march to war, and then they say there's only 2 seasons left. Presumably, those will be the war, that the dance of the dragon.
Mhm.
Um, I guess let's start there, Ryan. For
Mhm.
me personally, I didn't mind that this season was a slow burn. I thought the acting was amazing, the set pieces, the writing. Even I know people are hard on the writing because there wasn't tons of action, but I thought the writing was great. How did you feel about this season? Only really having one big battle, only really having really just two major deaths, and only one of them was like a main character. The other one was just a little kid. But what do you think of that? The
I mean,
choices trying to scale back this season.
so this show is very popular, right? They have to, being beyond 2 seasons. If they didn't extend it, would be impossible. And if you go back to Game of Thrones, like they never had there's like a couple big battles and the whole series, right? And like Blackwater was by far the biggest one, and that was the only one in the season. They did have some pretty big action scenes earlier on, um, right? And that made up timing wise, and now they're just kind of filling in the blanks. There's not anything they're really skipping over necessarily. They're basically, I mean, there's one major battle, I believe, anyways, in the books, right? They're leading up to like one. I mean, there's other stuff, but they're right. They're showing. We're getting glimpses of what Kristen Cole is doing, on and off the battlefield. Obviously, got to throw that in there for a cheap one. But yeah, I I think it's been pretty good. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a slow burn, but they started off the season fast, right? And they kind of set us up to like right. Everything kind of led up to eight. Aemon being the regent, um, and then they have like kind of the slow burn with Damon and Harrenhal, which is a way slower burn than I recall, but I actually like it because I think it has a lot of right. That is kind of that's a big it factor in Rhaenyra's strength, right? It's like, yeah, she's got Damon, but does anyone have Damon? I mean, only Damon has
Yeah.
Damon, really. So I think I did like how they kind of did that. It's a kind of, and I liked how I felt like even she was like, I think Rhaenyra, they had that big moment, right? And then Rhaenyra's kind of like, if you ever leave me again, I'll kill you. She doesn't say that exactly, but it's like, I think
Yeah.
it's you'll meet your peril. And like, Damon said, he's like, believe me, I tried. It's not, I guess it could be taken as like, no, it's not the right thing to do. I'm not going to leave you again. But it's kind of like, he's like, well, I already tried and I would if I could, but I saw the future and I'm screwed if I don't follow you. So, you know,
Yeah, I think obviously Damon at the end of last season was very hurt that there's this prophecy that his brother never filled him in on. Presumably never honestly considered him as the heir, even though he was the heir. You know, the Viserys is like, I do not trust my brother with this kind of responsibility and this knowledge, like, which hurt him very deeply. It seemed in that season finale last season, and then he got psychologically tortured for 5 episodes, and then he was like, you know what, women actually pretty cool. Women can rule, you know.
Yeah, it was it was an interesting like build up to it. There was definitely like that weird tension between him and the Woods Witch of Harrenhal.
My favorite character of the season. Give it up for Alice Rivers.
Alice Rivers, yeah.
People very controversial. Didn't well, I think people just didn't enjoy the Damon Harrenhal stuff. I don't know why. You're all fucking pussies for not liking this weird ass story.
It was pretty hardcore. He's just tripping balls, just like
Mhm.
getting deep in his mom, just waking up in cold
Why you gonna
sweat.
say mine? Took me by.
I was gonna go a little deeper, but I didn't. And then just like waking up in the cold sweats. Then just like in the middle of meetings, like basically like what seems like hungover and fucked up as shit.
Relatable, honestly.
Just waking up at 2 p.m. cold sweats, like, hey, do you have those memos? Like, I will say that I'm sure for like most people who have ever had like any kind of uncomfortable experience, like as an adult going into work, like when you first like when you're like younger, I feel like that was very relatable when it's just like they call on him and he's just sitting there.
Yeah.
Like, I do remember kind of thinking, I was like, oh damn, okay.
Yeah, you have to deal with the sassiest man in Westeros, Sir Simon Strong. I don't know if it's even Sir, just Simon Strong.
Not even like, like sassy.
Fabulous outfits, just dripped out head to toe every episode.
Very like dry, but like, I definitely like, there was like a little, but it was like very like dry venom, like he was spewing, like it was really hard to sift, which I think was kind of part of the point. You almost feel like him and Alice Rivers were like, somehow
now we're gonna break him down mentally together. I mean, hey, Alice Rivers is a bastard of House Strong, so maybe
allegedly,
yeah.
That is one rumor. I do know when I said Woods Witch, I do believe I did draw a blank on her name for a second, but I will say I do believe they say she might have been. She's basically like kind of like an uprooted like Woods Witch. I know there's rumors in the books that she's like as old as 80s, 90s, right? Might be for people who just watch show, it's like maybe a Melisandre type situation with her.
I know. I saw someone was like, "Oh, they should have just had Melisandre play this," and I was like, "That's horrible, terrible, stupid, fucking idea." Thank Christ you're not a writer on the show.
Oh yeah. I don't know. The show got kind of weird. Like with Melisandre, I just feel like it would just be like every time they like captured some male, it would just like start playing the music and like she would just start unbuttoning her blouse and just be like, "I'm gonna sleep with you," and you're just like, "What?" Like, is that just me or like that? I feel like that happened a lot. Like,
yeah, I mean, she and they had the reveal later that is actually she's very old and it's all just a glimmer. So
Gendry's just like Gendry's like, bro, talk about a lifesaver. Like,
oh man. But yeah, no, I mean I enjoyed Melisandre. Her turning to like a poof of smoke at the end after the battle was a little weird, but it's fantasy. There's gonna be weird stuff like that.
Yeah, and some of the stuff surrounding her, and is she from Mir? One of those countries. Yeah, I think I know a lot of the lore and like kind of magic stuff surrounding that area is pretty weird and ominous. So it kind of makes sense the writers didn't have anything more to go on. I mean, I could forgive that to a degree for sure. but yeah, so overall, I think we kind of unintentionally segued right into Damon. Yeah, I think they concluded that as well as they could, right? Especially like I think if you're someone who didn't enjoy that arc, which we both said we both did, right? For
Mhm.
sure. And more than the arc, I just saw the purpose of it, right? In building the kind of anxiety for Rhaenyra. Um, yeah, so we're there. Is there anything else we want to cover on that arc?
Well, I guess, do we want to talk about Rhaenyra or save that to the end when Rhaenyra and Adam go and
I think we
with
can go.
Aegon?
I think we could go Rhaenyra because I was actually thinking kind of what you said, where like Rhaenyra in the show isn't projected to be maybe as um,
Ruthless
single-minded and
and
as
yeah.
decisive and ruthless. I don't necessarily know that they know. Remember, these are the history books too,
Mhm.
and that could segue into something where they kind of had an interesting one in this episode. I really liked where we can go into it later with Allison, where it is kind of like, hey, this could have been what happened, and then the history books betray what is in the history books, right?
Yeah.
Like, it is possible that Rhaenyra was more like this, right? But what are people seeing? Um, eventually they see the dragons and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
especially if it's written by anyone who's a proponent of her, they're going to want to portray their Targaryen ruler as fierce.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I
And conversely, if they're, supporting Aegon and, they want to portray her as, like a monster, you know. So
Yeah, exactly. So I think it kind of makes sense. It is kind of hard if we like again. I don't know if we want to touch upon this completely yet, but like even the conversation her and Allison have, like she just has like a point that's so good where she's just like, Allison's kind of like trying to get some sympathy, and she's like, your dad always loved your mom, and Renee's just like, yeah, no shit. So how the hell did you gaslight yourself into thinking your weird son? He wanted your weird son to be the king, and like Allison just has nothing because it's so true, right? And I don't know about you. I at that moment I was just like, oh, fucking smoked her. Like it is over. Like that's just like the ultimate slam because right, and it's true. It's very,
Mhm.
and you never really think about it that way, but it's like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
Allison had to know, and it's like now that again, it's like now that she doesn't have. She even says she's like it's stripped from me, and the power, like she loved it, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I think too. This would have been a good. There's a line in the book that would have been good here, where like she could have kind of been like indignant, being like, "Your sons would have like been, had high spots on my court if like you didn't do this. Like, you fucking did all of this. Like, I wasn't gonna kill my brothers. I'm not a kinslayer. In fact, it makes a
She
point
did.
in the book that she's like particularly afraid of being a kinslayer because of everything that happened with Magor and how
That's what I
he
mean, and it does
hurt.
say that both her and Allison try to settle things peaceably at first. But again, if you look in I think they make personally, I think they make Allison. I think it show. Yeah, you could argue it seems like they like Rhaenyra more in the show. That could be an argument potentially, but I'm gonna say like Allison is way more likable in the.
Oh,
They
for
make a
sure.
point to make her way more likable in the show, right? Because even in the show, I don't believe that's in the book, right?
This scene,
That she
no.
thinks Aegon is going to be the prince promised. I think
Oh yeah, right.
she just
No,
believes that he should be the king.
yeah. It's. I mean, the prophecy isn't even like
Yeah,
a
they don't touch.
thing
Yeah,
in
I was gonna
the book
say.
at this point. So
Yeah, exactly. I didn't think so.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think
So
so. So yeah,
no, it's just really interesting, right? Like they're very interesting changes. I did love the shot, the match cut of like Rhaenyra standing there and then Allison standing there, and like they're two not mirror images of each other, but like they are the two like heads of the opposite sides of here, as much as Aegon like would want to be. Like he's
oh
really,
yeah, and it is kind of notable too, because right, it's in like this. you know, obviously it's a fantasy world, but it's like this kind of an old fashioned time period
Mhm.
in theory, right? Compared to us culturally, and it's like these two like women that like are clearly completely dominant and their families, like in a lot of ways, Allison is still, yeah, she is the figurehead for quite a bit of it, at least in theory.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, right. I mean, at least, yeah, it's hard. It's hard because, like, they've obviously done a lot of work to like kind of separate her from the green faction. She has a blue dress now instead of the green dress. Very much like her blue colors. When it was like the younger version of Allison before, like she married Viserys, before she went to their wedding, her Rhaenyra and Laenor's wedding in green. She wore all blue, or uh, red and black when she first like married Viserys. But now she's her own person, doing her own thing. I do love that she's like, listen, you can kill Aemon. No, you won't get any pushback from me on that. Quite frankly, I think that'd be for the best. But it's like, come on, you don't have to kill Aegon.
oh yeah, I know. And she's like, yeah, and she's just like, yeah, I do. Like you have
Right.
to. Yeah. Does it get us? Yeah. So I mean, yeah, right. I do think it's kind of hard to see because again, especially by the books, like she is supposed to be the clear heir, and in the books too, Aegon doesn't want. Aegon says, "Isn't my sister going to be claim the throne?" I believe he says that at
Yeah.
first, and in this, like, he doesn't really want it. He's not really suited for it. It's a clear. I know that apparently his dad said, but I do think they did it, because they did add that in, which I could see why fans of the text wouldn't like that. But I think they kind of established in their last meeting. I think Allison has figured out like, yeah, I probably heard what I think I know. She, it's clear she'll never admit it, but she heard what she wanted to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. And like maybe this is the way out. Unfortunately, Laris has his eye really on the ball. He's way too invested in Aegon at this point to let all of this happen. So
It's kind of weird. It's almost like it's like if it was just like a lone wandering leper and he sees that some other guy's finally been turned into a leper and he's
yeah,
just like, please come with me. And like, he's hovering over him. He's like, finally I found one.
I do think there is a little bit of that where he
Yeah,
like
for sure. No,
sees himself in Aegon, but I
mhm.
think he also is like, you know, when Viserys was king, Otto really was the king. If I help Aegon be the king, I'm really gonna be the king.
Yeah, we're
You
seeing
know,
a more sincere side of Laris right now, but like
Mm.
honestly, Laris is almost like portraying himself as like a little more like moral at this point, I would
Yeah,
say. But so that's like the question. It's like, did he do these terrible things in order to get where he wanted to be and now, or does he still have these kind of like malice? I definitely think overall he is looking to get power. He sees this as his best play for power too, for sure. But it
Mhm.
does seem like there is some sympathy for Aegon. He also, I could be wrong, but what's interesting, I don't know, like I don't think it would be in the books. He seems to also have a genuine fear of Aemond.
Mhm.
A lot of people
Yeah,
do.
I mean,
I mean, they did a real.
rightfully so.
I mean, I do think they have a good setup for Aemon's next big action,
Mhm.
right? I don't know. I can remember like the next thing he kind of does, and this all sets it up pretty well for like just kind of showing where Aemon's at. But they did a really good
Yeah,
job. They did a really good job, I thought, with this kind of character setup. Um, just kind
it's
of
like
showing.
imagine if like the most loose cannon person also was able to fly like a helicopter with guns on it all the time.
Well, you got to think about it like this. It's like,
Not great.
right, he in his eyes, he clearly has like a bad bully, like he has a bad bully complex, right? He feels
Mhm.
like he's got a runt of the litter, right?
Mhm.
And and he got the biggest dragon, and so now it's like, yeah, I have the biggest like people in real life have the biggest truck, gun, whatever.
Yeah.
No one can touch me, and that gives him a ton of safety. And we do see a, if not a gentler side to Aemon, we do see signs of like a wounded side of him, right? Someone who needs nurturing, needs comfort, does have clearly a ton of insecurity. And his first reaction, right? Because now this is the thing that gave him that security, right? The dragon.
Mhm.
He always defaults to that dragon. And he's given a lot of confidence earlier in the season, kind of by, I'm doing by Kristen Cole and his grandfather, is kind of like, yeah, you're the guy we're relying on.
Yeah.
But once he's kind of, and of course, like with his insecurities and stuff, he kind of jumps ahead and takes things into his own hands, thinking he's ready. And once anyone kind of like, he feels like anyone is putting him down, pushing back, challenging his worth, his immediate reaction is just to light them on fire.
I mean, he burned down the whole town just because he got showed up.
Right. So we see how much everyone's talking about that dragon. Like he's really given all of this false confidence, but inside, he's clearly, to me, he's still like a broken boy, right? Mm. So that right when he sees those dragons and he turns away, that's got to be his biggest low moment, because he realizes he showed that he's not infallible, right?
Yeah.
And that was this facade he built to kind of deal with the stuff going on inside, right? I think I said earlier, they I think they pretty clearly showed all this inner stuff he has going on when he's being coddled by the prostitute, and then you see Aegon and the Kingsguard catch him. And I don't think that, would he have done that anyways to Aegon? Probably, but do I think that was like,
I don't know if he would. I think that was direct response to what he did.
You think so?
I don't think he would have burned Aegon if Aegon didn't do that to him.
I mean, he might have been, but I think for sure, like, that was in the forefront of his mind, and you could see he was like, oh, I'm fucking, you're done. You just made right. Especially, and I think right, that is, it's like they're two different personalities, and kind of, Aegon's like recklessness and just lack of almost like awareness of like others, inner torments and struggles and stuff like that. And he probably, Aemond. Yeah, I just thought they did a really good job with that, with building up with Aemond.
Aemond's the heir now. So we talked earlier in the season, like, there's no Maelor, right? There's no younger son of Helena and Aegon in this. Jaehaerys is killed in the first episode of this. Aemon's the heir. And then we have a scene where Aegon paints the picture for us that his cock has, ruptured like a burnt sausage. Presumably he would be having no other children.
I know, yeah. And well, I kind of assumed that wasn't going to be going down.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, like, what's the value in Aegon as a king if he can't produce an heir and he no longer has an heir? And do you think that it will play into some of maybe the bastard children he had that were like shown off in last season finale, as a potential heir or replacement to this? Because like, there's no future for Aegon as king if he can't have an heir.
Well, so here's the thing: he does have a daughter.
He does, but that his own claim, right?
It could potentially through the future, but what if they marry? I mean, they could also, if they can get their hands on, right, or they are able to defeat the Blacks. All they have to do is get Daemon and Rhaenyra's like youngest son, marry him to her, that would be the safest route, I think. Taking the bastard route, that would be, I guess it, right? They did it, they did touch upon it so much in the first season, but
And this is just me like
yeah,
thinking
no,
out
I'm saying, but I'm
loud.
thinking, yeah, I'm thinking out loud as well. And I'm saying, I don't think so, just because how much they touched upon it with
Yeah.
Rhaenyra and all of them. I don't
Mhm.
see it. I think it's more. I do think the point of Aegon being the king, to be honest with you, is that it's not Aemond at this point. I think it wasn't probably the idea now, but I think definitely for Allison, 100%.
Yeah.
I think Helena says it pretty clearly. Like, I don't know how much she cares about all of it, but she says, like, Aegon will sit on a wooden throne. You'll be dead, and I guess the other hope would be too, right? Aemond is pretty reckless. Guys like that don't always live super long.
Right.
And there's another one who's lived to be like 50, Daemon. So, like, and if he dies, Darian is pretty much the perfect heir,
Yeah, that's
from
true.
all accounts. So there is that as well.
And we got a quick shot of his dragon at least.
I don't think Alicent would mind being queen again.
Right.
Or before.
Queen Regent. Yeah.
Obviously now she apparently wants to hightail it, which does seem kind of odd, but I think given the circumstances in the show, it would be the best route, right? And it also, they did a good job of segueing, because we did see at the end of this episode, which we could talk about, we saw Otto in a cage, which was very interesting.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we don't know what happened.
We don't. I like afterwards. I was like, did I miss something? And so I like went online and like, no, I didn't miss anything. You didn't miss anything.
No, I didn't even look it up because honestly, I didn't look it up because I was like, no, I know I'm not missing anything here.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what's going on there, because Otto comes back. This is what it could create more controversy is, do we think Alicent is just gonna, if Alicent goes back and she sees her dad, do we think she's just gonna leave? Yeah. And now, right, she also has to present Rhaenyra with Aegon's head. Right. That was a condition she laid down. So I think it's pretty obvious that something's going to happen here. So again, I thought this was a really clever way to kind of potentially segue into what does happen in the books, but say in the histories, this is how it plays out, and this is how she's portrayed, right? Because she is portrayed as just like a cold queen.
Yeah. Do we think Rhaenyra is not going to believe that Alicent didn't know that Aegon was.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
No way.
I don't think so either. I think we have to remember who's coming back to her side, Daemon.
Yeah, right.
It's like, I don't think she's gonna believe that anyways, and it's not like Daemon's gonna be like, hey, calm down, everyone, listen to me for a second. Like, that's just not him. If anything, he's gonna get rid of any doubt she had. So yeah, that's the most likely result of that. And again, I think a big play is going to be, it'll just be interesting to see. There's a couple ways they could go with it. I think it's going to bring up a lot of feelings, and when Otto comes back, right?
Yeah, wherever he is. As someone on Twitter said, they got this diva in a cage who put him in the cage.
Yeah, it is like, oh man, imagine how he must have talked to his jailers. He'd just be the kind of guy like, this is cold, and like knocks the place. Like I don't even know what to do. Like, should I make him some hot food? Like,
I know.
No, that's what he would. Yeah, that's what he would do. No, that's what he does. Like,
yeah. So that'll be very interesting. I cannot wait to see who put him in there.
Yeah. Any idea?
Do you want to have a guess? Yeah, I do. I'll throw out Larys. Put him away for safekeeping.
That might be the best.
Because Aemon was like, "Oh, get me the hand of the king," and it's like, "No, I can't have Otto back here. It's gonna fuck up all my plans."
Yeah, that might be it. But then who found him? Because clearly, like,
who was looking at him?
Because you would think unless Larys after the wagon picked him up, which I don't think is likely. I'm just running in through my mind. Yeah, that actually could be a point, because we never see him do that. That would be the most likely, is that but that would be pretty hard for Laris to pull off.
Yeah.
Given he is the master of whispers, what could be the other options? These are real, like out of left field. Like I don't. It's a hard one. I say maybe someone across the narrow sea. I guess, but we just had that little arc there, so I don't know. There could be
Yeah, we'll
that
get
was
to that, yeah.
yeah, we could touch because that was just a bizarre series of events. I ultimately I kind of liked it. It was
I liked it too. Honestly, I'm glad you said that because people are also negative online of this.
she gave weird and not like they've had characters like that before which are awesome, but that character gave off some like weird vibes. Like you just felt like I don't know. It felt like is it Jason Lannister? Because there's a couple of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that it's Thailand Lannister.
Yeah, Tom. So it felt like it felt like
or Tyrod, as she called him.
But it felt like he was like the like the dude maybe getting like roped into like trying to get roped into a weird three-way he didn't want to be a part of on a cruise. It was like that kind of a thing. Or not that it was, but it was like that kind of a vibes, right? Where it's, or like you're at like, you've seen like movies, like horror movies where it's like the weird off-putting like guy at the mansion who won't let anyone leave. She was definitely giving off those kind of vibes where it was the interactions were very weird, just odd. But I did kind of like it.
And like I should say I'm very biased. I've been subscribed to this actress on YouTube for years. Their name on YouTube is Philosophy Tube and does like a bunch of really like high budget, great videos explaining like philosophy topics and all that. But she's more like lately has been pursuing, acting. So
okay, that's cool.
See her like get a fucking role in House of the Dragon. That's sick.
Yeah, it was. Oh, that is cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, so Philosophy Tube, Abigail Thorne, I believe her name is, playing Admiral Lohar, is a transgender woman. And then in the show, had the Triarchy refer to her as he. And then in the behind the scenes, the writer of the show said that no, it's just like a coping thing for all like the sailors to like refer to her as a he because it's like not as emasculating. So I believe she is playing a woman in this show.
That's she's
in real life, but they're doing everything they can to make us like fuck up and say the wrong gender. I feel like they got to make this a little easier for us recappers.
So am I correct? Because I didn't know. So the actress, the actress is but the actress is a transgender woman.
Yes.
Okay. And the character is definitely a biological woman.
I believe so. Yeah,
I believe so. And then
the Triarchy refers to her as a he.
It kind of would make it. Is there? I'd have to go back to look into the books, but like if there is, I wouldn't.
There's no gender for Admiral Lohar. I just reread this section.
But I also wouldn't be surprised if there was a female ship captain. It would be like in that area for sure.
Yeah.
And depending on the country, I think it could culturally make sense. So that is possible. Yeah. But, I feel like, you might have been able to just like for judgment call there. Like,
keep it simple for us. Yeah.
But it seems again, if the actress is okay with it, right?
Oh,
So if the actress is good with all of that and then
I'm sure she's like, I'm gonna fucking Game of Thrones. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, but then it doesn't matter. Then it doesn't matter,
Yeah. But yeah, just wanted to point that out. Like, if anyone else was confused over like the Triarchy calling her he and then her obviously being a girl in the show, she is a girl, but it's like a coping thing, I guess, for the pirates to like follow her and refer to her as he. Anyways, also she has like 6 wives, so she wants Thailand to have sex with all of them.
I know, and then he's just. It was almost like the end of like it was like a sitcom like or so a sitcom gimmick where it's like how many wives do you have? And then it's like, ooh, like they accuse him.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
It was just like kind of a ridiculous arc, you know. It's like, oh boy,
Mhm.
looks like our boy Tylen's gonna f his way out of another jam. And then I was like, oh, I was kind of into it. Yeah, I was like, all right, this is funny.
No,
And
yeah,
it
I
was
like
kind of,
it.
you know, the nervousness he shows throughout, and then is like, you know, almost pushes him to the point of like losing his shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, I like you. You're kind of crazy. I like you.
Yeah, no, it should be fun to see them interact next season
Oh, true. Yeah.
more, because they're going over together for, I guess, a big part of the book that I don't want to spoil, obviously, but should be in the first episode of the next season, I would imagine.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. They'll include something there, but yeah, overall, they still didn't conclude. What's her name? Damon and
Rhaena.
Rhaenyra's youngest son, daughter.
Yeah, Rhaena.
Yeah, that.
I mean,
that
she saw Sheep Stealer. I have a theory, and I can't say it on the show because of spoilers, but after it, I'll tell you what I think is going to happen with that. But I think we can safely assume she's going to claim Sheep Stealer and not get murked by Sheep Stealer. What do you think of Sheep Stealer's design, by the way?
I'm kind of hoping. I'm still holding out for Sheep Stealer has another rider.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that would be a pretty sweet like misdirection. I don't think
Right.
they'll do it, but it would be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
I just really don't like that she left her to her brothers. What is what is Sling Blade? You shouldn't have done that. He's just a boy. poor little feller. I think South Park is a reference. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
No, but I do like.
South Park definitely has that. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. Great. I mean, great South Park. Yeah. Cartman with that. Good stuff.
But yeah, no, I get what you're saying for sure. At least like could have given her a more practical outfit. She's out here busting ass, like sprinting over mountains in like a giant dress.
Well, yeah, she was because she's supposed to be.
Yeah, supposed to be on a ship.
Yeah.
But I like Sheep Stealer's design. I like how his wings looks like overgrown like fingernails. Like just completely wild. Like,
no, yeah, they did a good job with it. They did a good job with the different dragons for sure. I think for sure. Yeah, we could also like it just kind of reminded me how like outlandish Ulf the White is. It kind of, and it kind of brings it because at first you're like he's being super rude, and then it's like it kind of is, but then it's like he's just like kind of talking like a peasant, like or just a normal dude. He's like, "Come on, man, you guys don't like to mess around."
I did like that line where he's like, I just feel like you could have a better sense of humor. Like, come on, you're all very self-serious.
You almost felt at some point he was just gonna like say something like that and just like nut check Jace, like
100%.
And Jace was just gonna like literally just absolutely destroy him with his eyes. Yeah, seeing a lot of and they're playing upon which again, none of this stuff is in the books, and we can use this as a segue into probably what I think maybe the best acting scene in this episode, arguably subtly, which was I would say Corlys Valerian and his son. That was a very powerful scene. I actually think. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it, and it just touched upon some issues. I just think maybe Game of Thrones. We kind of talked about the way they've portrayed bastards in the show. They kind of were like, let's have a chance to kind of have a bastard like. To kind of project what that must
actually
be like.
Fucking right? Call out like
basically that these really rich dudes are just they're just dropping loads and giving birth to like kids that literally have to watch them with their other kids like all decked out, and they're just like basically treated like shit and annexed, right? It is a dark and good point, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the actor Abukar Salem, he really knocked it out of the park. I feel like you felt like when he was like delivering that line, like, can you imagine what it was like for me to like be scraping by while you walked by with your other son, like buying fancy meats and shit while I'm like starving here? Like Oh man, that was so good.
Well, and they did it right. It was in the after the episode part. They
Mm,
showed like a interview with them, and it's like I think he even said, um, he said he was like, it felt like it was pouring out of me,
yeah.
even more than the character. And you could definitely feel that, and you could see like, as that character we've seen be very, he's been very reserved
Oh,
and
yeah.
very careful, and that just like I think that I'm trying to help you. That finally was what
Yeah.
made him snap, and I think it's interesting because the books it's a very different take. Once Corliss um, sees that these guys that Adam can ride a dragon, he pretty much takes them in as his sons and
Mhm.
claims them. Right. This is a very different one where he's not really sure what to do, and it's a good point where it's like the sea. By the way, the guy who plays Corliss, the sea snake,
Mhm.
one of the best. I think he's done an incredible job of playing that character. I think
Yeah, his name is
one of the
Steve Toussaint.
one of the better acting jobs in the show. He just like that dude
Yeah.
feels like the sea snake. Um, I think, but what we've kind of seen is like, you know, sea snake was pretty callous throughout all.
Selfish dude. He was
He
about
very
himself, and
Yeah, and then when he's like, I'm old, I want my legacy. And then when he
mm,
loses his son, his wife, his daughter,
his grandson, his
his
heir.
grand, yeah, his heir, which he does have another heir, technically, doesn't he? Isn't there? Jace has a younger brother.
Yeah, but um he's like too young to where he feels like, oh, I'm not gonna like be able to teach this like little kid anything before
Oh,
like
because
I die,
he's
you
trying,
know.
yeah,
Or at least with Luke, he's like had seemingly taught him stuff and had like been there for him,
yeah, that's a good
like
point.
and had
Yeah,
bonded. Like we have that really great
mm,
scene where he's like, talking to him in the first season, like, one day like this is gonna be all yours. And like Luke like starts crying. He's like, but if it's all mine, that means everyone's dead. And it's like, oh
oh
man,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah. But it is interesting because he's not. Well, I guess he probably is very distantly blood related to him. But we know the sea snake doesn't care about that. But I mean, clearly he doesn't know. Just to take another dig at him for how he's been treating his bastard sons. It does seem interesting in the show how he's not really fully acknowledging them or naming them heirs because we kind of see he seems like kind of like a weird old divorced dude who like anytime he has a nice friendship with a woman he's like it like would be like hey, would you want to go out sometime? It's like, oh, Steve, I know you're going through divorce, don't make it weird. It's like
Right.
that's like Corliss or there like, would you be my heir?
Yeah.
Like that is how it felt with his like she just like shuts him down pretty like
Yeah, his
brutally.
granddaughter when she was like, I'm
Yeah,
a Targaryen. I'm fucking, I want to fly on a dragon. I don't want to go on a ship. That seems horrible.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, which, understandable from her there. But
That's what I'm saying. Uh so I think it's just interesting that they don't have him naming. Well, because at this point in the book, I believe Adam's already the heir. It's not actually Alan; it's Adam.
yeah,
I don't know if they ever say which one's older. They probably do.
yeah, I'm not sure.
I have to go
Yeah.
back and look. I think if anyone, I could be wrong. I think Adam is older in the book because
Hmm.
I think he is the heir. But I also think right, he's the one who distinguishes himself by riding the dragon.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see, obviously, next episode. It should be pretty intense in 2 years when we fucking have to wait that long
Is
to
it
see
2
it.
years for the next season?
I mean, they're gonna start filming next month, they said. So like, you know, whatever, 6, 7 months of filming plus however much it takes to edit and do all the special effects and everything, then reshoots. Ugh. Yeah, it's gonna be a while. It's gonna be unfortunately a while. But yeah, no, I mean, I loved that scene. I can't wait to see more between the two of them as the story goes on. What else, Hari? I think we didn't when we talked about Damon having his hallucinations. We didn't touch on the fact that Helena was tapped in to the Weirwood network. Kind
Yeah,
of weird, right?
yeah. Especially, I've told you that's. I guess again, I get. I it's just like you want your Luna Lovegood. But I just
She's
think that
totally that archetype, yeah.
I think that whole arc with her has been weird to me. It's like one of those like small ones. Like I know it shouldn't, but it's just like that's not Helena in the books. Like I don't
No,
see
no, not at all.
why you
Yeah.
had to make her like such like um have such a third eye. Like whatever, I guess. But like it's just kind of that's a weird one. It was kind of cool in that thing where then it showed Daenerys with the eggs. I mean, I think
That's
that right,
cool,
and it
yeah.
kind of shows us, look, this is what right, like this is for people who read the books, and also people who read the show, and right, there's all these prophecies in the books that we haven't seen through and stuff yet, but um, you know, the fire and ice thing, they wanted to tie it in to,
Yeah. I
and
do
I do,
think they could have shown, like they should have done that shot of John looking at Hardhome, with all, like, the White Walkers to tie in the fire and ice aspect,
yeah, yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe they don't wanna include John. I don't know. Maybe these showrunners aren't a big fan of him. Slashers, maybe, like,
Or they didn't really know what to
more.
do because what would the implications be of John? And also for
Yeah,
Damon.
why would Damon but he's a
Well, no,
fucking
yeah,
he's
he
a
looks. He
twink.
doesn't. Yeah, well, he doesn't look like a Targaryen, right? So
No,
there's
not at
that.
all, yeah.
Unless they show him on a dragon, then he might just be like, "Why the fuck is this random dude riding a dragon?"
Yeah.
And then right, we don't ever see him become the king, and then he's like, "Why do I care that this random dude with a ponytail is having like a Western bromance with this wildling up beyond the wall?" And for all we know, because like that could be kind of like that could be right a further part of the Song of Fire and Ice, John going beyond the wall. That could be like what
Mm,
he's meant to do.
yeah.
Um,
But David would be like, "I don't know if I'm related to this guy," then
yeah,
John, like, sleeping with some random wildling chick, he's like, "Oh, no, yeah, definitely related to him. That's definitely someone from my lineage. That's sweet."
oh man,
Yeah, but, yeah, no, I didn't I guess it explains why she wasn't, like obviously, she was frightened in the moment watching Jaehaerys get killed, but then afterwards, she was pretty chill about it, uh, and I guess it explains, like, that with her being like, "Oh, we all have a part to play in this grander storyline,"
hmm
which really recontextualizes some of the stuff that's gonna happen with her that we know from the book,
with
um,
Alice, you're saying, or with
with Helena,
because there's yeah,
you know?
yeah, it does. I think the stuff before made more sense, kind of, because it was like
Oh, because of this, yes, definitely.
no, but the more so it made sense before, and then this is kind of like a little different, where it's like,
Mm.
um, yeah, it's just interesting that she would have that kind of attitude towards her. But we don't know with Helena if like she's always. It almost seems like she could have been
I think
like a
she
lot of
always was just having, like, random
yeah, but
glimpses of the future, right? So,
so too. But I'm wondering if like sometimes she seems kind of more frightened
mhm,
in general, and then it's like when she has these visions, is it she has these lucid moments where she might be more assertive in the way she
mhm,
speaks and more sure of herself, right? As
yeah.
well, other times she might be more airy and kind of yeah, just not.
Well, yeah, well, speaking of that, what do you think of her straight up being like, "Aemon, you're gonna fucking die"?
I thought it was in again. That's I think for the way they have built Aemon this season, they showed him his worst nightmare, right? Because like um, all Aemon really wants is approval, right? He wants to feel I mean, he wants to be the king and all that, but he just wants you are good enough, right? And
Mm,
I feel like there's a weird thing where he's like, she should be my wife because she
yeah, right?
not
He's
like
like, "I should be king,
romantically,
you should be
maybe
my
not
wife."
maybe
Yeah,
not like romantically, but it's like, yeah, I should have had kids with this Targaryen sister, not my brother.
mm, yeah,
Um, and she kind of just like awakens his worst nightmare. And she's obviously known in the show for saying these kind of visions. And you know,
Yeah, I got a
like I
little
said,
cryptic, but not this one. She was just like, "You're gonna fucking die, and no one's gonna ever remember you."
yeah, I think, and I think a thing I said was kind of leading to is it shows us that Eamon is actually very scared, right? He's very driven by fear.
Mhm.
That's why he reacts in such extreme ways. So when someone faces him with his biggest fear, which is you're not anything more than like a jealous second son no one's ever heard of who dies being reckless, just
Mhm.
trying to prove himself.
Also, you're such an asshole. No one's ever gonna name their son Aemon again in our whole line.
Is there another Aemon?
There's not another Aemon.
You positive? I thought maybe
No, he's the one. There's no Visenya and there's no Aemon. Those are the two that never get recycled.
there's I think there's Amen, but not Amen.
Aemon, but not Aemon. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like very similar, but yeah.
No, it's similar for sure, but you know, not the not to
Yeah.
say he's such an asshole. No
I
one
mean,
wants to like name him again.
it is rough, yeah. He does. I mean, he's in the annals of history,
Oh,
right?
definitely. Yeah. No, I mean
And he's known for being very
the
fierce.
last, like one of the last or first slash last people to like claim a dragon instead of like, having one from an egg, was the last rider of, this great OG dragon from the Conquering. Like,
Yeah, literally,
important guy.
Visenya's dragon, right?
Yeah.
So he's that's one of the original three.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is crazy. He has that dragon.
Mm-hmm. And as someone said on Twitter, like, like, yes, obviously I hate Vagar right now while she's working with Damon, but like when they make a Conquering show and she's doing these war crimes in a feminist capacity, I will be rooting for her.
Oh man, do you think they'll make one?
I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Could be interesting.
Do people want that? I don't know.
I
Yeah.
I mostly I think you and me have both talked about. I think the best would be. I think they're just worried about butchering it, or maybe there's a little more feelings of like hesitancy and like people. I don't know. I feel like just like this is a really like sacred thing we don't want to mess up. Is Robert
Yeah.
Rebellion I think would be the best to
Oh
interpret.
yeah, I was about to say the exact same thing. As
Yeah, it's just right.
Robert Rebellion.
I think most people would. I think like everyone. That was initially what it was going to be. I'd be so excited for that.
No, agreed. Agreed. I think if these other shows do well, it's right there. It's right there. Like, how can you not do it?
They did show before the episode. There was like when they do like the different show, they do like an ad for like the different. At least when I was streaming it, there's like an ad for like the different shows they have coming out. Yeah. They do have a couple clips of the night of
Night of Westeros. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
I was gonna say it's Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Yeah. I mean, I love that series.
It's gonna. I agree. It's gonna be sick.
It's gonna be. It might be more difficult to interpret into a show, just because it's like these single stories, and it's like each one could probably be an episode or two.
I think I heard that.
So it's like you got like.
I think I heard that each season's going to be 6 episodes, so not a ton of stuff to stretch it out. So
I was gonna say you have maybe like 5 episodes worth of content and writing.
Yeah, right.
So it's kind of rough. So that's kind of tough, but I think it could be really good.
Yeah, and like you can fill out the runtime with like sub adventures, that aren't from the thing that lead into the actual stories. You know.
And if you guys want some connections to the show, I don't know if we're plugging it. We want some connections to the show canon. Sir Duncan, who is the knight in this, is a lot of people theorize that he is the original ancestor, like Brienne of Tarth's house. The dude's just massive.
Yeah, and if you want a gross, for a lot of people, you're gonna see him get his freak on with young Nan. She's the old Nan in the original show, but at the time, she's young.
Oh, I don't know that that is a
That's a theory. That's a theory.
theory. That one
Yeah.
seems kinda odd.
And
I think
Hodor is a descendant of Old Nan, and people think like, you know,
I didn't know that one. I think it's more likely that he's got giant like, I could see him having giant's blood. That would be
oh,
more likely to
that'd be that'd be interesting.
No, Hodor, that's what I think is
Yeah.
more likely. I think that could be more likely. It's like, right, because everyone mixed with the guys from the wall. To like eventually, like they kind of say it. Like I think don't the wildlings even say like, yeah, we probably share blood with you guys. Like I think
Yeah.
that's covered in the books for sure.
Was it Osha? Right? Osha is the wildling in the
Yeah,
show. When she sees Hodor's
yeah. Then
enormous
she says
face,
that. So
she's like, "Oh, he has some giant in it."
that could go either way. I think it would be yeah. The third. I mean, you never know, but yeah. And I was gonna say on the other end, um, the the squire in it. Or do we not want it? Is that a spoiler technically? Yeah, it could be a
I don't
spoiler.
know. Yeah, it's got to be a spoiler for the first season. So
For the first episode, probably. Or it could be the whole first season if they're going to stretch it. Yeah.
yeah, maybe like halfway through the first
Yeah,
season.
because then you'll know. Because but we'll say it relates pretty directly to the show. Um,
Definitely.
it is someone who is close to someone who is in the TV show.
Yes. Yeah. We'll leave it at that. But yeah, we'll be back to cover that when it comes out for sure. Um, also from the previews, Last of Us season 2 coming out. We have our podcast Worth Fighting For covering that.
I could
So
hop. I haven't
yeah,
finished season one, but I could hop on that. I mean, I've played I've played the
yeah,
games, and yeah, I mean, I liked the show. It's going to be interesting to see the new season. I got to go back and watch it, man, because that
yeah.
was a really good show. I just completely lost.
Yeah, they did a great job adapting it, honestly. And
Yeah, it was.
Pedro Pascal, awesome.
Yeah, you can't really go wrong there.
Yeah, I know. Like, I remember, this is still technically related, Game of Thrones alum, but like, when they
Oh,
cast
true.
him,
Yeah.
it wasn't like my first, like, oh, you think of Joel, you think of Pedro Pascal, but then when they cast him, I was like, oh, yeah, no, he's gonna fucking kill this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It was one of those ones because there are sometimes, again, sometimes yeah, you just don't know. But like it was one, because it was someone who's well known. Like for
Mhm.
instance, neither of us probably knew, but like obviously they changed up who Corliss is in some ways. Like that guy played the sea snake
Yeah,
perfectly, right? He killed it. Pedro Pascal, once he was listed, you were like, oh, just for Joel's like attitude and who he was, like, yeah, you could see Pedro Pascal. Just I was like, that show's gonna be really good. He's gonna do a really
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
it
Bella
was great
Ramsey
casting.
too. They were great as Ellie. I
Yeah,
thought, like,
uh, yeah,
another
yeah.
Game of Thrones alum.
Wait, really?
Yeah, Lady Mormont. It's,
Oh, that's right. Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. They were really good. As
but HBO is smart like that because they'll be like, oh, we already have all these like really good actors from our other
yeah,
shows. Let's just fucking use them again.
yeah. And she was. They were really good. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if you saw Jeffrey Wright is going to be reprising his role as Isaac from the second game in the show, from Westworld. So that's super exciting too.
Yeah, that you lost me there, but
Bernard in Westworld,
yes.
that actor Jeffrey Wright. He was
Yeah, oh yeah, he was
he,
just in.
in the second game. He was a character in that,
Is
and
that a show?
in the second The Last of Us game.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know
Yeah,
that.
he like played them, and then when Tamar and I were recording our podcast at the end, we were like, "Hey, for season 2, HBO, you just canceled Westworld. Jeffrey Wright was already played this character. Just get
Uh,
him." And that's what they did.
oh, and they did. Yeah, I mean that
Yeah.
makes sense. It would be from just stuff I've seen of like the creator and stuff. I think he would want to. Yeah, it makes sense. And also, it's like you had the. I mean, incredible actor. He was just
Oscar
in.
nominee.
Yeah, what was the movie? It was a pretty good movie. It was a good movie. And he did a
Yes.
great job.
It was American novel or
Something American novel, American fiction.
American Fiction.
Yeah, it's a
Yes.
good movie, and he's great in it. I think I remember watching my dad, and my dad's like, he's just one of those guys just born with like a great voice. I was like, oh, yeah, it's true.
He is, and he's just so good. He's
Yeah,
just
great
such a good
actor.
actor. It was really nice to see him get nominated for an Oscar for that. And now, his character Bernard is like one of my favorite characters in fiction. Like
Oh
I
yeah,
really
it's a really
love that
good.
character.
Yeah, Westworld, I kind of lost track on eventually. I think most people did. It kind of fell
I
off.
think that's why it didn't get to finish its storyline.
It just really crashed hard. But I mean,
Mhm.
when it was at the height, I mean, that first season was one of the best
Yeah.
watches I can remember. Right, it was incredible, and he
Mhm.
was the highlight. Him and the young cowboy turned into the old guy.
Yeah, right.
And,
Yeah. He was great too. I think I like Westworld all the way through. I get why people didn't stick with it, but if you're looking for a reason, Jeffrey Wright is great the whole way through. You know, so
oh yeah, I mean, great actor.
yeah, so that'll be exciting. But yeah, that's really it for House of the Dragon. We're marching to war. We got to see
Mhm.
the Greybeards crossing the Twins. That was exciting. I did see originally they had um the God, what's his name? The Stark. The what's the Stark's name? Not
The young guy,
yeah.
the young Stark. I thought there is a. I do believe I was going to say. I believe when the old guy, when the Graybeards march, I think there's definitely a car Stark among.
Kragan
Oh
Stark.
yeah, but I was going to say there's a car Stark among the old beards. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's
Yeah.
well known because again, remember this is back in the day. So like in the show Game of Thrones, the wall, the Night's Watch has fallen a bit from like where at this time, if not in the Seven Kingdoms as much, maybe. It's probably trickling a bit, but like still in the north, like going to the watch is honorable. And like I think,
Mhm.
right, they as they say, like every so often they have the Stark send their own
Mhm.
to the wall, and it's a more common thing to send your extra sons.
Yeah. Benjen,
Yeah, but I'm saying it's way
yeah.
before.
Yeah. Way
Benjen
more.
Benjen is just like really doubling down. He's just like, yeah, I'm a hardcore Northman. so
Yeah.
it's like
But yeah, no, I originally they had Kragan Stark with the Greybeards, but that's not how it is in the book at all. So I'm glad they didn't
oh,
include
they
him
did.
in that
Oh,
scene.
really? Oh no,
Yeah.
that'd be kind of weird because he literally was, he was pretty clear about it.
Yeah,
And
he's like, I have to make sure everything's good here so
it's like,
people
look,
don't die.
I got way more important shit going on than your little.
Yeah, you little dragon shit. I don't care about that much. But Jace, you're cool. Honestly, I definitely want to continue to bro down.
I think
So
there's a theory in the book. One of the theories put forth in the book is that Jace fucks Cregan's sister and
yeah,
gets her
man.
pregnant, and and he says he's gonna go back and marry her, or actually he does marry her. So apparently, like, because he's only betrothed to is it Bela.
Yeah,
But you know, we don't. That's
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna include it in the show. I mean, they
no.
didn't include it in the show. So
They're definitely not going to include in the
yeah.
show. I say I don't even think it's necessarily true. Like I think it was one of those ones that's just like, oh, this could be a rumor.
Mhm. Yeah, I do wish that they showed more. I mean, I get like Jason Bela are betrothed, but like, can you like at least have some like warm scenes between them? You know,
I think they warm.
maybe they like actually seem like they're into each other at some point.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
kind of like they're both very right. She's
yeah,
very like headstrong, very focused on just kind of pleasing Rhaenyra as
mhm.
much as possible and like being a
No,
dragon
definitely.
rider. And then I think like I do think there's like you just saw the two like she was very much there for Jace when
No,
she needed
definitely.
him.
I think you gotta. I think they should at least like kiss you at some point. Like, come on,
That's the thing though. It's like if they're betrothed, like how seriously do they take that vow? I don't know. It is a
yeah. It's I don't
And
know.
there's another scene, right, when she's shooting a crossbow and talking to
Yeah,
him.
where they're like flirting a bit.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
good. So, well, now they're in much more serious time, you know.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, and I think again we don't see a ton of interactions between them, and yeah, so I think it.
I just need my romance subplot, Ryan. I need this to happen. Come
You're,
on.
you're, I'm not gonna hit you with that. It's like your teenage romance. Like,
Yeah, I need that. Yeah.
I need the 2 16-year-olds in this show to really just like get hot and
Yeah.
heavy. Yeah, I'm
You
gonna
just have to, they're ambiguously aged in the show.
be there. It's not specific.
Yes. No, something. Come on.
Yeah.
Like at this point, they're roommates at best. This,
Yeah.
they're coworkers under Renera. Like, yeah, like, do you love her? I mean, yeah, she's great. No, she's great. Maybe the rumors were true. Not just the Sarah Snow, but the other rumors people have, like maybe Kragan and Chase were in love.
Is that another one? Is that one?
Well, I think it's just like it describes like Kragan Stark was like very fond of him, and like they rode the dragon like together, and they went hunting and like had a pact in blood together, where people were like, were they, historically close?
But hey, man, I mean, I guess that's another thing is like relationships look different for different people. Maybe they're,
especially during the medieval times, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, other than that, I'm sad it's gonna be like 2 years, but we'll be back with the occasional like theory or like random thing we want to talk about to keep this podcast alive as it goes,
Yeah, absolutely.
And at some point when they have Game of Thrones shows happening every week of the year, which I'm sure is their plan. The Walking Dead the AMC did like the same thing with The Walking Dead, where
Didn't realize
pretty much at one point they had like a new episode of one of their shows happening at any time.
Then they kind of realized it sucked.
I think they were like, we're just gonna keep doing this until literally nobody watches.
Yeah,
there's still like 3 shows happening.
Wow,
of The Walking Dead. Yeah, but they like ended the main show and also ended the 2 leads, Rick and Michonne.
Yeah.
And we were like, listen, we got other career opportunities we'd like to pursue.
Yeah,
can we just wrap up storyline?
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, they both had left the show at certain points,
and then
they did a mini series show just for their characters to have like a wrapped up story.
Okay. I was like thinking, it's like, yeah, we're too good for this, and it's like, hey, we're sorry, we'll actually take that. Like,
no,
that's kind of what the buzz. No, it'd be pretty funny that the buzz kind of wore off.
Mm-hmm. No, but like I will say, the acting quality on Game of Thrones, I think, was better. I think they had much better stuff to work with,
it's. I mean, it's also, and it's. I mean, George R. R. Martin is. Arguably, like it's really good. We won't get into stuff like that. It's a really good fantasy writer. Really talented writer, and in addition to his
The Walking Dead, the comic book.
Yeah, well, and this is also again, these are 5 2,000-page books so far, and he's also he's written an entire history on the Targaryens. He's written a series of novellas, which is getting turned into a show, and it's all like, I would say, pretty high caliber stuff.
No, I agree. But what I was saying, the stuff, they have there is like more to work with. But I will say, The Walking Dead, the actors who have been on that have all, like, not all, but like a lot of them have gone on to do like some great stuff. John Bernthal, I think, is a great actor. Stephen Yeun is a great actor. Denai Guerrera, she's like a really well respected and like awarded playwright, on top of like being a good actress in like the Black Panther movies. Andrew Lincoln, he's a great actor. Coleman Domingo from Fear the Walking Dead, he just was nominated for an Oscar. Like, they really were making, like, I'm so happy he got nominated for Oscar because like that man for 8 seasons was working, for the last 5 of the seasons of Fear of the Walking Dead, they were giving him the most slop to act through, and he was giving it his all every episode. Like he was they were giving him bullshit and he was trying to make like gold out of it for 5 seasons. So he fucking deserves that Oscar nomination, you know. But yeah, it's just funny that it's like The Walking Dead's more, I think, of like a pulpy show. But really good actors from that too, you know. But yeah, other than that, Ryan, do you have anything you want to say before we sign off for the last time for this season?
I don't think so. Just that probably the best, I would argue, the best season of TV I've seen in some time. Was really pleased with the series as a whole. I personally, I think, was probably a bigger fan of season 1 than a lot of people were.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's ever going to be perfect, especially when it's an adaptation of written fiction that you really like. But I was really impressed with what they did here. There were definitely like small things I could pick apart a little bit, but it's been really, I've been really impressed with this season. Really happy and really excited for the next couple.
Yeah, no, I agree. I loved it. I'm sad that it's over.
Yeah,
I'm sad that they made it be 8 episodes instead of 10. I'm sad that it's going to take like 2 years for a new season to come out. What's the story with that, Ryan? Game of Thrones is pumping this shit out every year. You can't make, this show in a year.
What game that you said, like the next season of this?
Yeah, like Game of Thrones is like 2011, 2012, 2013, like they're just every year would come out, but not this show.
I guess so, but look, yeah, that was also look at the 2 writers and look again. There's a lot of content to go off of.
Yeah,
They're filling in a lot of blanks here, and look what happened once they lost that content. What happened to the show? I think it dipped in quality enormously.
No, I agree. So they kept that schedule going. God damn it.
Well, yeah, they wanted to make Star Wars, which I got fired from
for how bad it was. Yeah, really like.
And then they didn't have fun. Yeah. It was really funny. It's like now they have a Netflix show, and it's like we couldn't get Rob or John, but we did get Sam.
He's in a kimono for some reason. Yes, every character in the book is Asian. No, they're not in this show. They're all white.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's like set in China.
That's
it's a Chinese novel.
Unless the person wrote them as specifically as white, I just feel like
no, it's a Chinese writer.
No, but I'm saying, but I guess they could, in theory, like write a book about a bunch of people in a place where they're white. Like,
yeah, right. But he didn't. He wrote it a Chinese cast.
That's not good. I just feel like
it's fine. We put Samuel Tarly in a kimono. Yeah, so it's like that's Japanese. Yeah.
So did this show like crash? I never really heard of it.
I don't know anyone who watched it.
Didn't you? I thought you tried watching it.
No. I was excited to see Samuel Tarly in a kimono. I just thought that was a hilarious visual.
It made a good meme for like when you said you were like you said it was you watching
Shogun.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I guess we could do a separate, like, if you've never seen Shogun, you're still listening at this point.
Dude, yeah, if you like House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones, you'll love Shogun.
Shogun was awesome. I loved it. Shogun was really good. It was, it's up there. I don't think it was quite as good as like this, but it was really, 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 really good.
Yeah, and I think like to talk to D&D. You can have an all Asian cast. You just got to put one white guy, just the most plain white guy, and then like everyone else can.
And he's got to be like a super white guy, like just like a real dick, just idiot, like
yeah, real idiot. But he has a 6-pack also, but like other than that, But yeah, Shogun's so fucking good. I'm excited for the second season. I know it's not going to be based on the book anymore, but I'm so hopeful it'll be good. But yeah. Other than that, like I said, I'm watching it very slowly, but to those about to die, I'm enjoying it. It's definitely not nearly as good as this or Game of Thrones, but it's fun. Yeah,
Oh yeah, it's all right.
yeah.
It's fun. Yeah, I think I'm on episode 5. I kind of fell off with it, but it was fun. I was getting to I wanted the gladiator battles.
Mhm.
Could be
You know,
interesting
it's
for sure.
like I don't want to say it's cheap, but like you can tell like a lot of the backgrounds are just like those giant screens they use now instead of green
I
screens.
thought some of it is okay, like in the city and stuff, but yeah, I
Yeah,
would say especially when it was like, I mean, the White Lion when he's fighting him, it's like a cool idea, and I like love that they're like doing something like that. But it's also
yeah,
like that was so clearly just like, oh, this is so computerized.
fake. Yeah, yeah. Not everyone has HBO budget.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Peacock budget.
yeah, it's Peacock budget exactly. I haven't. I don't want to spoil that show, but when we're offline, I have a joke to add on to that. But
Gotcha.
thank you so much for watching, everybody. Ryan, thank you for co-hosting for these episodes with
Yeah,
me, and
my pleasure.
we'll be back hopefully sooner than later, talking about some random Game of Thrones stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Would love to do that. Yeah.
There's infinite things to talk about for Game of Thrones, so yeah, we'll be back.